My name is Chuck Wade. I am Career Development Workforce Preparation Program Coordinator at the Sonoma County Office of Education. I'm very recently out of the classroom. For the last 13 years, I taught at Casa Grande High School in Petaluma. I ran a vocational program there in digital media, graphic design, web design, 3D animation, as well as classes in entrepreneurship and business. Over the course of my career there, my classes changed quite a bit. Initially, they were fairly traditional ROP classes, teaching students skills, software, design skills, things like that. And then toward the latter part of my career, I facilitated a small learning community that had a cohort of teachers with students in common, anchored in student-run businesses. We had a graphic design business, printed t-shirts primarily, screen printing. We had a barbecue sauce business, and in each of those, students ran all aspects of the business and also pursued all of their academic coursework. That really changed, I think, how we thought about what students did in the classroom, how they were assessed. One of the neat things about that was that students who traditionally, when they came into my classes, many of them super smart, creative people who didn't like traditional school very much. So what we were able to do was to find ways for them to show their mastery of their academic skills, doing things that they were passionate about. And pretty much every kid has that passion. It's kind of like the student who knows everything there is to know about dinosaurs. They can tell you how fast they can run and how much they weigh and so forth. Every kid seems to have that thing, and we were able to find their place and get them to show what they can do around something they were very interested in. In my role now at the county office, we're doing similar things for teachers all over the county. We have many industry contacts that we work with. People in business tell us that one of the big differences between school and the world of work is that in the world of work, you don't really know how you're going to solve a problem. In school, we often teach techniques for problem solving. Here's the technique, you practice it, see if you can do it. Here's a set of problems, you solve those problems. Business folks sometimes can't identify problems very clearly, and then when they can, they don't necessarily know how they're going to solve them. Working with the student-run businesses was more like that. Students had to identify what the important problems were, and then they had to come up with creative solutions for those problems. And I think that was a much richer learning experience than what my courses looked like early on. So I think that for me was the big transformation in my teaching career from really sort of presenting skills. Here are things that you need to know. Here are some techniques for problem solving. Here's how you go about doing that. To here's a messy real world situation. See if you can see what the big issues are, and see if we can come up with a group solution to those problems. Much more collaboratively organized, much more reliant on students' communication and critical thinking and creativity skills. So really a different approach to going about learning new things.
So one of the classes I teach is a digital media class, and we have a blast in that class. And I think one of the reasons why is that students get to take ownership, and it's all about creation. So we take a look at style and how things are, but it's student voice the entire time. And so we're making movies and making podcasts, and the care and attention that students put into every single piece makes me smile every single day. I'm blown away by the engagement that the students are having in the class. And just that sense of ownership and creativity, and the students are proud of themselves at the end of the day when they have a product that is 100% theirs, and they get to share it with whomever they wish to. But seeing students create something and have that is worth coming to school for every day.
I teach a course this year called 21-6, which stands for 21st Century Learning for 6th graders. And it's meant to be a language arts-based course, but we're really trying to push the envelope. And one of the things that I've done and that CACI's been doing as well are these 20% projects where students have one day a week to design whatever it is that they want to learn. And that's been hugely, it's just been a huge learning piece for me to see what they go for, because it's been so varied. I've got kids who are just spending their time writing. They're passionate writers, and that's what they want to do. And I've got 2 kids that are learning a language. I have a kid learning Japanese and a kid learning Mandarin. The kid learning Mandarin said, you know, my ancestry is Chinese. I'm Chinese American, but everyone's always asking me, can I speak Chinese? And I'm embarrassed that I can't, and so I want to learn it. And so he's sitting there using a program called, I think it's called Mango Learning, and really enjoying doing that. And then I've got some kids studying plant growth, and I've got another kid who's passionate about horses, and so she's learning all about horses. So that's been really neat. And then I have a couple of kids who can't get there. They don't know what they're interested in, and it's so interesting to watch their process. And when I sit down with them and they keep turning to me, basically saying to me, can you tell me what I'm interested in? Right. And I can't tell them. And when I do try and give advice or suggestions, they don't want it. They want to figure it out. They're just having a hard time getting there. But that's been really fun, I think, turning it over to the kids completely.
Definitely.
Hello, I'm Dan Blake, the Director of Innovation and Partnerships with the Sonoma County Office of Education. And it's an exciting time in education, both locally and statewide and nationally. Locally, there's a real effort underway to promote innovation in education and encourage the creativity and the risk-taking that this class is all about. We have an effort specifically that's a partnership between our County Office of Education and Sonoma State University and Sonoma Country Day School, as well as a number of other local school districts and community partners, called IE Sonoma, which is Innovate, Educate. And this previous year, we were able to bring in Sir Ken Robinson, one of the foremost authorities in the world on the idea of or the need for creativity in education, and really spark some great conversations about our current school systems and do they really truly prepare young people for the world that they're entering. And this coming year, we're having our second IE Sonoma event, and we're very excited to be bringing in Dr. Sugata Mitra and Nirvan Molek, a documentarian from Southern California, and again, really challenging some of the assumptions that we've had about education and how can we think differently about how we prepare young people. I think when the need for this fundamental shift in education really hit home for me was actually after my 14 years as a classroom teacher. I took a position at the Sonoma County Office of Education, and it was a position that nobody had had prior to me. In fact, the 2 jobs in the 8 years that I've been at the County Office of Education were both brand new positions. And while there were some broad parameters that were set for me and some responsibilities, much of the 2 positions has been, I've had to be self-motivated, and I've had to really take risks and to figure things out on my own. And the shift for me was looking at the way as a classroom teacher, the way we were preparing students versus what I was experiencing in the workplace was dramatically different. I think it's critical that we empower young people to be able to think on their feet and to take initiative and to take risks if they're going to be successful in today's economy. And I think so much of that is tapping into students' passions and young people's passions. And that can't start at the end of their K-12 education experience. It can't be something that's encompassed in a senior project or in a final effort in the last semester of high school. That really has to start earlier in terms of giving young people awareness of what options exist out there, opportunities to explore. And this can happen in a variety of ways by exposing young people to the world beyond the classroom. And as they go through that process of awareness and exploration, that's where they start to tap into their passions and they start to connect their classroom learning with their own futures. And that's, I think, when that real spark takes place. And then as they get into the higher grades, they can start to prepare for something that's meaningful to them and start to make better informed decisions about what they're going to do post-high school. And if that includes post-secondary, which we know is more critical than ever, what's the right fit for them and what is it that they're going out to prepare for? So I think that this is critical for young people at the earliest stages to start to tap into their passions. You know, the United States actually leads the industrialized world in a very dubious statistic, and that is we have the highest college dropout rate in the industrialized world. Certainly not something to be proud of, but I have a thought on that, and I think a lot of it is even those young people who are being successful in our current K-12 system, and by successful, I mean in terms of the traditional measures of grades and standardized test scores and so forth, and who know that they're going to go on to college, they often don't know why they want to go on to college. And as a result, they end up in a major or at a school that's just not a great fit for them. And we know the statistics that after a semester, after a year, a significant percentage, sometimes up to nearly half those students, have at the very least changed majors, but very often completely dropped out of school. And so I think it just goes back to that notion that we have to work further upstream in terms of helping young people figure out their own path tied to their own interests and so forth. And we're going to have more motivated learners and we're going to have more successful young people.